Hey guys, let me start by recapping the Arkansas State game. After going back and watching the film, it was one of those games where it was sort of the film was almost as good in some situations as we saw at the game, especially offensively. We was able to control the line of scrimmage. I thought both backs ran extremely effective. Elijah McGuire, just one of those nights that you'll remember, and Cajun fans will remember for a long time when you have a night like that and make some of the runs that he made. Alonzo Harris getting 100 yards, keeps our streak alive of being undefeated when he gets 100 yards. And then I thought our quarterback, Terrence Broadway, managed the game, got us in the right calls all night long, and then when called, ran the ball effectively. Had some young receivers step up too. C.J. Bates made a nice catch and run, and then C.J. Bates had probably the biggest special teams play of the night, catching the onside kick. And so it was good to see some guys step up finally, and I think that will help in their confidence as we move forward for the rest of the season. Offensive line played one of their best games of the year, very physical up front. And that was sort of what we wanted to do going into the game, was establish the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, and I thought we did that. Defensively, you go back and look at the game, gave up a lot of yards, way too many yards. They got about 50 yards, I think, on the play where the running back rolled over the defender, so I don't put maybe that on them. But nevertheless, we've got to eliminate big plays. We did really do a really good job, though, of getting off the field a lot of 3 and outs. And then we got a lot of lost yardage plays that put them in some long yardage situations, too. So we did improve in a lot of areas defensively, but still way too many yards. We got to eliminate some big plays. Most of the big plays were guys out of position. And that's the thing, when you go back and you see the film, you feel much better when you see that the scheme was there. The coaches, I felt like, made some good calls. Just some guys didn't play within the scheme and allowed some seams to pop and allowed them to cut a couple of big plays. Got to eliminate that. Kicking game-wise, I thought Daniel Cardona really controlled the game, flipped the field quite a few times. I think he put 4 inside the 10, and then just an incredible night with his rugby punch, because we felt like they were going to try to bring pressure, and I felt like going into that we had a really good plan, ended up working out well. And the rest of the special teams, I thought, did a pretty good job sniffing out of reverse, sniffing out of fake, and doing some good things. So exciting, big win for our team at home to get us to 3-0, which was our goal to get to after the game. And now looking forward, moving forward. A couple of things injury-wise. I know you got some questions about that. Romaine Douglas is getting MRI today. We'll get the official results back from that later this afternoon. Michael Quaid, we are hoping that he's going to be okay. All preliminary observations seem to think he's going to be okay, maybe just a bruise. And so that would be very big for our program if he's able to return. A couple other ankles that nothing serious. TJ Worthy hobbled a little bit. He should be available here by this weekend. A little bit sore, but still walking around doing pretty good. But probably the biggest injury that we've got to overcome is Steve Pelican took a shoulder injury after the game, and he's going to be in the pit with Coach Witt for this week. So got to get him back, though. We got 10 days to get him back for the next home game. We can get him back there on the sideline. So with that, moving forward to South Alabama. If you watch them on film, right now after watching the film this morning, really the first chance I've had a chance to watch them in detail, very, very good football team. Defensively, very sound, very good up front, linebacker secondary. I think could be the best defense in the league. Very, very good. They held Mississippi State the #1 team in the nation right now. I think maybe 13 points at halftime. Just really got after them, played extremely hard. They do a great job there. Coach Jones does a good job. Joey does a really nice job. Brian Turner, one of his assistant coaches, was one of my assistant coaches back in North Alabama, and so I know the type of coach he is. So they've got a really good staff. They do a good job, and it's going to be quite a challenge when they come into Cajun Field a week from this Saturday. They'll be interested. I think they play tonight, so want to be able to watch those guys tonight, sit back and try to watch a game. Yeah, tomorrow night. Sit back Friday night, watch that game televised tomorrow night, so we get a chance to see those guys a little bit. But nevertheless, it'll be a huge challenge. But we're pleased with being where we are at 3-0, but we know there's a lot of improvement left to make if we're going to be able to get to 4-0 in this conference. So every day trying to improve some things that we still need to clean up. So with that, any questions?
Was the rushing attack because of Jamal not being out, or was it game specifically?
Well, you know, we always, even with Jamal here, we want to try to establish the run, because when we can run the ball, even when Jamal's there, he's more effective because he gets one-on-one coverage whenever we run the ball. And so, but we felt like coming into the game, that was something we could do. We felt like we had an advantage with our offensive line versus their front. And it ended up, you know, being true. Not all the time, it doesn't work out, but we really felt like we could run the ball. And we didn't necessarily plan on Terrence running a lot. We really didn't run him a lot, you know, just picked and choose sometimes to keep him honest with the quarterback reads. And that was good. But the outside runs game was really consistent with Eli, although he did have a couple of nice inside runs, but most of his were on the outside, and Zoe pounded it up in there pretty good, so we're pretty pleased.
How nice is it to have a couple extra days to be able to get Quade, Worthy, and Pelican back?
That's big, especially getting Stevie back. So we got to have Stevie P back for Saturday, but it'll be big because we get a little more time to heal, a little more time, extra day of preparation, because we will practice today and start getting a little bit of head start on the game plan for South Alabama.
Coach, maybe compare quarterbacks, Knight and the Bridges, obviously different types of quarterbacks, but looking at their stats last week, South Alabama's the last game, you know, he rushed for over 100 yards, Bridges did, but talk a little bit about maybe the differences between those guys.
Well, you know, he's looking to run the ball. You know, I don't know if Freddie looked to run the ball as much as Bridges. He wants to run the ball, and he is an effective runner. And so it'll be a challenge. Anytime you've got a quarterback that can really run, when you're in a two-back, when you have a one running back with you back there with one quarterback, to me that's a two-back offense. And so that really creates a lot of problems. He's an effective runner. They do a good job of utilizing his abilities.
Coach, you set a different goal each week of winning one more conference game. How difficult is it to actually get you guys to buy into the
No, pretty easy, because that's what we've done the last 3 years. You know, we got a new goal though this week. We changed it up. Our goal this week is to be 4-0, and so that's our goal for this week. And we're going to put everything into this one game. And so we're going to do everything we can, pull out all the stops, and we'll take that, because they're, like I said, an outstanding team. But our team knows that, and they've seen what happens when you look ahead. We saw that earlier in the year. And now they've seen what happens when it is a one-game schedule.
So it's made easier to get them to focus on that one game.
No question.
By the fact that they didn't earlier.
No question. And like I said, we've done it the previous 3. We probably tried to do that early in the year, but didn't. I didn't do a good job of making sure that they kept that focus and allowing outside distractions and outside things to permeate them in their mental process of the season, and how they process in their thoughts of how the season's going to go, instead of worrying about just winning the next game. And because when you do that, the big picture will end up taking care of itself.
Coach, what is that balance? You know, maybe, as you said, keeping them focused and then going back and maybe them getting maybe a little bit overhyped after the way we played down there in Mobile last year and the results of that game, knowing that we want to win that game and show that we weren't that team that was down here in Mobile, and maybe just getting that balance.
Yeah, you know, back of their mind, I'm sure that they want to play much better than they did last year. You know we didn't have a Terrence, and we didn't play as well as we would have liked. But you know, I don't even know if that's even going to be part of their mental process this week. I think for us, we want to control what we can control, and that is taking care of the football. That's our second 2 games. Our last 3, we've had perfect ball security, which is huge. And we've only had 1 turnover in 3 games, and we've won our last 3 games. It's really not that complicated. And so if we can just keep the main thing, and worry about things we can control, and that's taking care of the ball, that's playing sound, playing within the scheme of things, doing a good job in special teams, playing with great energy and great effort. We can control all those things. do that, then most of the time, good things will happen.
Jalen play out of necessity the other night?
Was that?
Jalen?
No, you know, we utilized him last year, if you remember, in the bowl game, and we had a couple little quarterback runs for him, and we've got, you know, obviously he's a good passer too, and we've got some things that we may incorporate with him in the passing game, but also it wasn't a deal of choosing him over Brooks. We could have ran Brooks, but Brooks is obviously a better thrower, and Jalen's a little better runner, and so we just wanted to run him on the field, mix things up a little bit.
Well, one of them was when Terrence took a big hit.
Yeah, but
More coincidence than that?
I don't know if Jay called that because he saw him take a big hit, but it was in the game plan.
Did you either get any communication back from the conference office or see anything when you went back and looked at the film that you didn't like? Or?
Well, the only thing that the film shows is when they scored the touchdown, when their player, you know, rolled over his own player and got up and ran, there were 12 people on the field. And so, you know, by rule, we can only have 11. And so, regardless, you know, even if he did not touch the ground and scored, you still should have brought it back with a penalty being assessed for having 12 men on the field. So that was the thing I was most upset about on the sideline, and it proved to be true when they had, you know, 12 men on the field. And so at that point now, it was 34-9. And that was a big swing in things. You know, if we stop them there, we've got a chance to go ahead and put this game away. And so they get the score, and now get a little bit of momentum, and then score up for half. Now we got a whole new game, and we really felt like if that play hadn't accounted, it might not have gotten to that.
What about post-game? Post-game,
Or as,
when you said you were going to look at the film, what about post-game?
yeah, nothing post-game. Obviously, just the thing of concern was the hit on Michael's knee on the last extra point has been sent in, and they'll handle it how they see fit. But you know, post-game, you know, anytime you've got two teams that are heated rivalry, guys that like competing against one another, and something you get in a game like that, you've got to do a good job of controlling emotions, and both sides probably didn't do a good enough job at times of controlling just emotions. And we've got to, both sides do a better job of that. We got some guys that were fired up for that game, and for us, you know, early in the year, we didn't play with a lot of passion. So, I mean, it was good to see some guys that had some fight in them and some passion, but you got to also put it in the right context. And so obviously we addressed some of the guys that we had issues with. 95% of the guys, there was no issues at all.
Do you think it would be worthy of consideration of a rule, either a rule change or a rule interpretation change of if a guy's on top of a guy but there's no forward progress?
You know, I would be for that. I would be for that because to me the defense is somewhat getting penalized for making a good play. You know, we come up and make a big play right there. It fixed to be, I think, 3rd and long. And, you know, maybe he didn't touch the ground. Probably looked like he didn't on film, and I'm not arguing that it did. But, you know, forward progress has stopped. They've got people running on the field. We got people running on the field. Both teams have stopped. I even thought I'd heard a whistle. Maybe I did or maybe I didn't. Thought I had some. But nevertheless, I would be for that. Forward progress has stopped. Because I guarantee you, if we'd had one more guy come barreling in there, we'd have got a 15-yard flag for unsportsmanlike conduct or a late hit. And so, you know, what do you tell your guys? Because the guy's down. Do you come and pile on, or do you stop? And so that's something that probably could be looked at after the season. Let me bring that up in the national meetings.
When you've got a bunch of speed on the field now, which that's, you know, showing its worth, but you also have to, when you do have that speed on the field, you have to teach you guys not to over pursue and use that speed to their detriment.
Well, no, you want them running fast, but you've got to, you know, do your assignment, and then you've got to pursue the football in proper pursuit angles. But the first big play with the quarterback cutback is our inside linebacker is responsible for the quarterback, and he went with the running back. The running back went across the quarterback's face, pulled him out, and cut back underneath. If they would just play within the scheme of things, but that's the beauty of football. It's all about deception. It's trying to get the other team to get out of position. We try to do the same thing to everybody else, and that's what everybody does. And that's why you have plays that work, and plays that don't work is when people don't buy the eye candy or they don't take what we call the bait. all the motions and all the play action, that's just all bait to try to create big plays. And so you've got to be very disciplined, and when you're not disciplined, you give up big plays. When you are disciplined, you do what we did on the other plays and have lost yardage plays and big stops. And so we've got to eliminate, we got to be more efficient and eliminate those big plays.
How much has Elijah been able to practice over the last few weeks?
He's practiced, but we've limited his reps, especially really now, instead of eliminating his practice on the front end of practice, we're really pulling him back toward the second part of the week, on the Wednesday, Thursdays, Fridays, in order to get his legs really underneath him. When you've got a racehorse, you don't see those guys at the Kentucky Derby taking those guys out the day before the Derby and smoking them. You know what I'm saying? They're getting them, they're rested up. And so we're getting those, we're really making sure him and some of those guys are really rested, making sure that turf toes had a little bit of more recovery time. And I think it paid off a little bit the other night.
Having said that, if he's not, oh, sorry. Having said that, if he's not practicing a whole lot when he is healthy and he says, Coach, I got 265 yards without practicing, why do I need to practice?
He may have a point there. But, you know, the thing is, you know, as a player, he's got to also be out there, because, you know, we have a lot of plays we put in where he has to know what to do. And so, you know, he has to practice enough to know the game plan, to know his assignment, and not just his assignment versus if this happens. You have to rep all those plays versus this, and pressure and not pressure, and defenses that stem and move and coverage. And so his rules change on every play, just like any player. So just 1 rep or 2 reps of it, a lot of plays is not enough. For some plays, maybe. But when he lines up on the ball at wide receiver, he lines up off the ball, he lines up at running back, he lines up at slot. For a running back, you know, that's a big learning curve. And so, you know, he has to do a really good job of that. And Coach Lovings does a great job in his mental preparation. He gets a lot of walkthroughs leading up to the game. And so when he's 100%, he's pretty effective.
Terrence had 9 completions, 6 different guys. Is the reality just that spreading out is probably what it's going to be the rest of the way?
Well, that is just taking what the defense gives us. You know what I'm saying? We're running guys on and off the field now, whereas we used to want Jamal here, or we wanted Jamal here. Now they just all play, and where the ball comes, that's where it goes. And so, you know, as a play caller, that's a lot easier on Jay, because, you know, obviously now Jay's not okay to get Jamal to the top or get Jamal here to the boundary. You know, he'd rather be doing that, don't get me wrong. But that takes one thing off. All those guys now rotate. And Devin Scott makes a nice play at the beginning of the game. C.J. Bates makes a nice play. James Butler makes a nice play early. To be honest with you, all those guys sort of stepped up tonight, and I thought grew up a little bit, took a positive step forward. Hopefully they can continue their development a little bit.
2 straight weeks with the offensive line having a really nice game. Are they just kind of starting to gel like they were looking at you a little bit?
I think so, but you know what? The offensive line, though, if you ask me, they were gelling early. You can go back to the Ole Miss game. So I don't think this was any different. You know, they rushed for 200 against the number 3 ranked team in the country. The offensive line, to me, has sort of been playing at this level most of the year. It's the rest of the team that's starting to really pick up their play. The running backs are healthy. We hadn't really gone into a game with both running backs healthy. Both of those guys were both 100%. Looked good. Defensively, we're improving. Kicking game, we're improving. We're taking care of the football. So that part is really what's improved. The offensive line play's been solid all year. Anything else? All right, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Good.